the immediate family members need to support the mothers to breastfeed, because it's a task also. It demands time, it demands energy for her to do it, and then the whole bigger family, the community needs to encourage her and support her to be able to breastfeed on demand. So even within the home, the household activities, it has to reduce on the woman, because this is something she has to do on demand. There is no time that you say you breastfeed for 3 hours and then stop and then come back after 6 hours and do. So she needs a total support within the home environment. Also have to be friendly, baby friendly home.
All right, I hope we can work some this explanation. So it's a job of its own from what I've explained, But I think God also embedded some qualities and capacity, in women naturally, that would make it easily adaptive, But when my colleague was talking about the young moms, I think there's also a very big challenge, because these young moms have the education, they have been sensitized, they understand the nutritional value of breastfeeding, yet they don't want to do that. Some will say, look, I don't want my breast to sag, and stuff like that. We shall get to that. But I want to take on Nemat Haji Boy on this issue. Nigeria, they said, has only attained merely 24% of the rate of exclusive breastfeeding. How accurate is that estimation? And if that is true, what in your view, the UNICEF nutritionist, are the challenge, are the causes, as a matter of fact, why should that be? I mean, it's highly low, even when traditionally, women have been known for breastfeeding,
Thank you. So I'd say actually Nigeria has a culture of breastfeeding. So if you look at what is the percent of children who are ever breastfed, it is way over 90%. So I would congratulate all the mothers in Nigeria for breastfeeding their children. As Dr. Salma said, we have definitions for what is the optimal way of breastfeeding, which is a child should be breastfed within the first hour of birth and not be given any other things like infant formula. She's just delivered. People say, give little infant formula, the mother's tired. But we say, no, should be only breast milk. And then for up to 6 months, only breast milk, not even a drop of water. So the statistic that you are mentioning, and it's about 29% actually. So it's about 1 in 3 children are exclusively breastfed. So if we look at the strict definition of exclusive breastfeeding, not even water, no infant formula, no food up to 6 months, that statistic is right. It's 1 out of 3 children. I will say though, there is good news. 10 years ago, that number used to be 17%. And so in 5 years, Nigeria doubled the rate of exclusive breastfeeding. By 2025, the World Health Organization asks for countries to make the exclusive breastfeeding rate about 50%. We have some new exciting data that will be launched later this month, and it looks like we are on the right track and the rates are increasing. So I would like to congratulate Dr. Salma and her team for doing a good job with, promoting, protecting and supporting women to breastfeed. You asked about the causes, and Dr. Salma alluded to them quite a bit. So one, we say everybody needs to step up. That is the theme for breastfeeding, and it is a job. So I ask, and I'm going to challenge you with this. We say exclusively breastfeed for 6 months. 6 months is 180 days. Yeah. And if we say mothers should breastfeed on demand, they should be breastfeeding for 10 or 12 times in a 24-hour cycle. So this means in 6 months, if I'm a mother, young mother, I have to breastfeed 1,800 times, 1,800 times, and each feed lasts about 30 minutes. So from tomorrow, I want you to commit to doing something 10 times a day for 30 minutes at each time. And whether you're tired, you have to go out, whether you have to work, you still have to do it. Are you going to be able to do it without support?
Biologically speaking, I thought that there are some hormones,
yes.
Some hormonal, development, in a woman that just gave to birth that produces the milk.
Yes.
It shouldn't be all that a problem.
No, it isn't all mothers, and I want to assure, I think one of the biggest challenges we face is, when a young mother, first time mother tries to breastfeed, sometimes it's difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. But hormones are there, and all mothers can adequately breastfeed their children, but they need the support. So the challenge I'm giving you is not to breastfeed. The challenge I'm giving you is to try to do something 10 times a day for 30 minutes each.
Okay.
I can't even exercise 30 minutes for 4 times a week. So mothers need support, as Dr. Salma said. I need support in my home. I need support from the health facility. I need support in my community. I need support in my religious place of worship. I need support in my workplace. If I don't have that support, I am not going to be set up. I always say, let's set mothers up for success. So how do we set her up for success? So that is the big issue. There are some myths also. We find one of the biggest causes or barriers to exclusive breastfeeding in Nigeria is that mothers believe, it's when it's hot in the summer here, it's hot. We all drink a lot of water, so there is the belief that along with breast milk, a child needs a few drops of water at least. And I again want to assure all viewers that babies in the first 6 months do not need anything but mother's milk. It has enough food and enough water to satisfy a child's needs.
Okay, thank you very much, Nimat Hajiboy, for the points that you have made and the challenge you threw to my colleague, Kieran. Kieran, I thought that perhaps one of the easiest responses to what you said would just be to breathe is an activity on its own. To breathe, as you and I are talking about breathing. So that answers the challenge, I believe. Exactly. If somebody is healthy, you can breathe on your own. If you are not aided in your breathing, then you are up. But if to be aided, that's when you know the value. We are taking it for granted now that we are able to breathe. We saw what Corona did. So suddenly it's there. But let's bring in Clementina Ibero-Okoro to also elaborate on the challenges around exclusive breastfeeding in Nigeria. I know that there are a number of things that are ideas that have been developed, even infrastructure, if you may, around breastfeeding. And that's why I talked earlier about the modern woman in our time, Kieran. Mothers are working, they're running their businesses and they're busy breastfeeding.
In fact, some even will carrying firewood.
And if the baby cries too much, can you go? But if it becomes unbearable, it's just a matter of bringing the baby from the back, and then you breastfeed the baby. But now we're looking for almost exclusive infrastructure to facilitate breastfeeding. I mean, why is explain this to our viewers?
Thank you very much. Just like the earlier presenters have mentioned, enabling environment is quite important, is good. What we're actually advocating for is not really an very exclusive infrastructure, but just like a space, a lactation space, a room, like within the office environment. Just a room can be set aside. Some women are shy and they would not want to just open up their clothes and breastfeed in the public. So for those categories of women, and also for dignity, a private space is what we are advocating for. So it's a good one. If in every workplace of life, for us to have a set aside space where mothers can feel comfortably to breastfeed. Even in the communities, we're not just looking at only in workplaces, we're also advocating for space even in the communities. Like most women are in the communities, they go to market, they go to farms. Yes, we do know that there are other things that can be done, such as expression. Those of us from the community perspective, we could say, let the mothers, if they have to go out for long, so that there will be uninterruption of the exclusive breastfeeding, they can express their breast milk, and it can stay for up to 4 hours, going by the recent findings, and without spoilage. And somebody needs to support the mother to feed this baby even when she's away. And these are all the support we're talking about, because these mothers have to work, they have to find other things to do, but then child feeding needs to continue. So I think I could stop.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Dr. Rwanu Mohammed, you know, I wouldn't know what to ask you to tell us, but I know that as a chairman, Batu State Primary Healthcare Board, that you have a very good understanding of this topic of breastfeeding, which of course I know as an infant you also did. Now, what would be your take on the current rate? You know, where we said that just 24%, you know, rate in terms of Nigeria's adherence, you know, to breastfeeding culture, exclusive breastfeeding culture. So, what is your own take on the current situation? And if you may, let us know what happens in Bauchi. Is this still a culture, or are there people who are saying, look, I will go for substitute?
Thank you very much for having me. I just want to say that exclusive breastfeeding has been a problem in Nigeria because mothers themselves, they don't want to help themselves. And there are a lot of factors. Some are social factors, some are cultural factors. Part of the factors I always talk about is the mother themselves, they don't want to lose their shape. And they continue to breastfeed so that the breast will not fall. Whether they like it or not, breast one day it will fall. It will follow them to the grave. Another one is the social factors. The grandmothers, the other people in the community are saying that the environment is too hot. Why are you not breastfeeding the child? And the child is having hiccup. And I told them that the breastfeeding is the only answer to the hiccup. Does that mean the child's stomach is expanding? He needs more breast milk. So that is the area where we had a lot of trouble. And the exclusive breastfeeding in Nigeria today, in Bauchi is about 6%. It's very, very low. And it has been a problem to promote, educate people on exclusive breastfeeding in our state because of the cultural factors. And then we also have a situation whereby the so-called working mothers, and whether in public or private, there is need for also a sort of a law to protect the working mother, so that the crèche will be by law that all organizations should create a crèche for where the mother will be kept, and then there will be flexible hours for the mothers to go at 1 o'clock or so that the mothers can go back and continue breastfeeding at home. And then the fathers, it's only Lagos and Lagos and other places that actually set a target that there should be fathers leave, and that it has been a problem in all over the state. Nobody wants to adhere that, and that is a big challenge also. And then this year alone, we decided that we are going to have a 1 week long activity. One of them is radio jingles. We've been starting since on 1st of August, and then radio discussions. We identify about 20 communities that are very low level of exclusive breastfeeding. We went for town hall meeting, discussion with them about exclusive breastfeeding. Well, on Saturday, that is 6, we are going to have a commemoration for the World Breastfeeding Week, and it's going to be launched and flagged off by the wife of the governor, Hajiya Aisha Bala Mohammed.
Dr. Mohammed, I still want to stay with you so that you can explain further the social and cultural impediments to exclusive breastfeeding. I don't quite understand it, why at this time now, you've already mentioned probably the psychedelic resistance, namely about the firmness of the breast, on account of breastfeeding. But in the past, I would imagine that mothers in today's Bauchi state breastfed their babies. So why is it that in this day and age, you are throwing up cultural factors as a hindrance to exclusive breastfeeding?
Well, this one is not even far away from my own family, my own relations. This is a thing that I observed. All my babies are exclusively breastfed. I have 9 children, about 6 of them are exclusively breastfed, and they are healthy. They have never had any sickness, not even a diarrhea. So the advantage of breast milk is very important. But the mothers think that this environment is not like America, it's not like Germany, where it is very So the cultural factors play a very big role, because the grandmothers, the mothers say, no, you have been breastfed. So why now is preventing this child from getting breastfed?
I don't understand.
Okay, all right. I'm not sure. Okay, I think he's true. I thought we were having difficulties linking him up. All right, we're back here, ladies. Let's get to this. And I want to ask Dr. Sama Ibrahim Anas this. When we're growing up, if your friend misbehaves in a certain way, we usually say, look, in fact, I'm not sure you sucked your mother's breast.
Yeah.
But what is, for me, a tradition? It is within the local area that look, that if you were not breastfed, that there's a tendency that you will not behave normally.
That's
and so on. So it is our culture. But I can't just understand what Dr. Ruwan Mohammed meant when he talked about the cultural impediments and so on in a continent where breastfeeding is traditional, it's culture, it's something one has to begin with. We don't need to preach about it, but of course, because of the modern day world, we begin to experience this issue of not wanting to breastfeed a baby. Like some people, because I had the privilege of covering breastfeeding day when I was doing my reportorial days, and I kept asking the younger ones as to why wouldn't you want to breastfeed your baby? Some of the challenges you mentioned, came to the fore. She was talking about going to the market and all of that. Some of them are saying, okay, she's working, and where she's working, there's no place for her to breastfeed her baby and what have you. Some go into their cars, do breastfeeding and what have you. So now, what should be the focus of agencies responsible for this sensitization and what have you? Because the younger mothers today are not into breastfeeding. They are patronizing the substitutes, and that is what is happening at a greater level. So what can be done to see how you can make this younger generation of mothers to understand the concept of breastfeeding and why it should be sustained?
Thank you so much for bringing that. Before I talk on that, I think we need to clarify where we are coming from. It is true what has been said, that culturally Nigerians breastfeed. That is the norm, to breastfeed. But what is more important, are we properly breastfeeding? And what has been the trend of our childhood mortality over the years? It has not been good. So it is to go back to say that, are Nigerians culturally properly breastfeeding? And the answer is no. We are not culturally breastfeeding. The norm, it's a misnomer to say that Nigerians don't breastfeed. It's abnormal, just like you said. Most women breastfeed. That is the natural way, and that is the cultural way that we see traditionally and up till date. But in terms of proper breastfeeding, the culture, there are lots of belief. Immediately a woman gives birth to a child, the first breast milk that comes out, which is thick, yellowish, which is called a colostrum, is discarded. Culturally in Nigeria, most cultures across the country have demonstrated that for several years. Since the time of our grandparents, they discard that breast. And that breast milk is highly concentrated with food supplements, with nutrients, with medicines, I would say with antibiotics. In fact, it's the first immunization for the child. But our culture discourages that in most cases. So that is not right. So that is not about the modern woman. It's also about, how do I say, the older woman, my mother's generation, my grandmother's generation. And then,
I'm sorry to interject. Yes. While you're still on this subject, has there been advocacy to turn around that whole idea to say, look, the first breast milk after childbirth is the best for a child? I mean, if we know that it is wrong,
yes,
to discard it, has there been advocacy targeted at changing that practice?
There is advocacy. There are policies around it. And this is what we are saying. The first meal for the baby is the breast milk immediately after birth. Within the first 1 hour of birth is the breast milk. That means there is no room for discarding. And the advocacy, the messages is we have continued to enlighten that this breast milk that we discard, it has this, it is an immunization, it is the first vaccine to the child. It protects the baby. It has a high concentration of glucose that even if it is coming drop by drop, it's still very useful to the baby. You don't need to start any infant formula at that time. And this is part of the advocacy that we are seeing. And these are things we continue to educate mothers. And we say within the first 6 months, exclusively breastfeed without any food supplement, as Nimat said, without any water supplement. So this is within the culture. And now we are saying that the culture should tilt this way, because you now see babies well fed, they are thriving well, there is no cases of infections, especially diarrheal infections, upper respiratory tract infections, and they live very healthy within the first 6 months of life. So this is to address the issue of modernization and also the issue of culture. So few percentage of Nigerians are properly breastfeeding. In 1990, when we started, it was just about 2% of Nigerians, women, that are properly breastfeeding. And I've described what is proper breastfeeding, especially within the first 6 months. Today, we have made modest progress. We want to be more than there. We want to have universal. Every woman should breastfeed exclusively. But we are at almost 29%.
What is proper breastfeeding? You just explained the first breast milk after childbirth. Thereafter, what is proper breastfeeding?
So proper breastfeeding is to initiate breastfeeding immediately after birth, within the first 1 hour for the first 6 months of life, without any supplement, without water, without additional food, unless it is medically indicated. That is the only thing that should be added. So this is proper breastfeeding within the first 6 months. And thereafter 6 months, continue to breastfeed up to 2 years, but we recognize that as the child is growing, the breast milk will not be enough from 6 months. So you now start to introduce a balanced nutrition as a complementary feeding to the child. And this is what we describe as proper breastfeeding. So if you look at it, this has not just started now. It has always been like that people are not properly breastfeeding. Because it's a huge task, as she described. You need to be encouraged, and mothers will tell you that breast milk within the first few days is not coming much, or they have multiple deliveries, they cannot cope with it. But with support, every woman will be able to successfully
breastfeed. You said that after 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, you can now introduce, infant formula. Right.
Not infant formula. We are not emphasizing on infant formula. We say complementary feeding.
What kind of, that's what I want to know. What will you introduce the child to after exclusive breastfeeding? What do you introduce the child to?
You introduce the child that with locally available food that are available, balanced diet. You start with a pest. Baby at 6 months cannot swallow. So you prepare a balanced diet, which we continue to teach mothers how to do that, with a balanced diet of carbohydrate, protein, and every other thing that you have that makes a balanced diet. But you don't stop breastfeeding. You still majorly continue with breastfeeding and continue to increase the supplementary food.
Does it imply that cereals and the other products?
Yes, our cereals should be given. It should be given, and then I think we have a nutritionist that can even elaborate better. It should be given, the cereals that we have. We have granite, we can use the granite. We have the soya in our community. We can also add any other supplement to make it palatable for the baby. Because babies also like different choices of food, just like we have. And you hear mothers, they say, I've been feeding him with a pap, and then the baby is not taking it. But you can prepare the pap in different ways. With available crayfish is there. Some mothers grind their crayfish and add it to the food. So just like you eating okra soup every day, you will complain and say that, why are you people giving me okra soup every day? It's the same thing with our babies. The only thing that I know babies are never tired of is the breast milk.
Okay, Dr. Salma, thank you very much. Kira, there used to be those scenes in some locations where if the baby is hungry and then the baby is stubborn, the baby doesn't want to take the pap that has been prepared by the mother. You carry the legs of the baby and trap it. And then you know what I mean. So the baby today that would be child abuse.
Yes,
obviously. Okay, well we've seen a lot. Exactly. But the exclusive breastfeeding we're talking about, is it for single births or for multiple births? And what is the adequacy of breast milk for multiple births. I mean, to break that down, if a woman has twins, has triplets, if one is crying, whose breast is she going to? Yes. So explain that. Nimat, the question goes to you.
So the beauty of breast milk, and you mentioned it, there are hormones that are there in the body. So once, I want to remember that the production of breast milk it's a hormonal response and it's a very natural response. So the short answer to your question is, even with multiple births, mothers can exclusively breastfeed quite adequately. Because the body is fascinating. The more a child suckles at the mother's breast, the more milk is produced. What we have to be careful about is to make sure the mother herself is well nourished. So we have to make sure she is well fed, she rests, and she gets the care and attention. That's why we keep going back to step up. Let's support our mothers. Whether you have one child, you may have twins, or you may even have triplets. There are those who successfully breastfeed triplets. Clementina spoke about expressing milk and also storing it. So if I have triplets, my sister, my husband,
and I had twins.
Yeah.
I did.
So
Exclusively.
You have twins.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I successfully breastfed my twins for the first 6 months of life.
Did they?
And we are very healthy.
Was there, because
congratulations.
I know some mothers who have twins, and the twins breastfeed sometimes simultaneously.
Yes.
Yes.
It's possible.
Simultaneously,
Yes.
but the mom has to be healthy
Yes.
for that to take place.
It is captured in the Igbo culture. The omugo that we do. That omugo is a special time for the young mother to feed very well.
Yeah.
That's why you ask her own mother to come, so that she will help in preparing some special kind of food that she needs to eat for the breast milk to flow. And what have you.
Sorry, that omugo is causing some social dislocation.
That's a great practice.
Because they are leaving us old men. Although they say the omugo abroad.
But that's a good practice.
Madam Okoro, Christine came up with if someone has twins, because you have seen quadruplets.
Yes.
We've seen even more than that. Now, how does such a woman cope? And again, does the size of the breast determine the quantity or whatever of the milk that will be there? If somebody has a quadruplet, which means 4 children, for how would the person cope with the feeding, breastfeeding?
Yes, just like others have mentioned, even with multiple births, mothers can still breastfeed and breastfeed exclusively. I have seen lots of mothers that had twins. I've even seen one that had triplets that breastfed exclusively. Just like earlier mentioned, the process of breast milk flow comes with what? Suckling. The more the baby suckles, the production is stimulated by the act of what? Suckling. Those hormones, prolactin, which is the hormone that is responsible for breast milk production, and then the letdown, that is for the milk secretion, is also controlled by hormones. So the act of suckling it's just like tap. The more you open a tap, you can see it flows. Okay. Yeah, the more it flows. And then the supports that we're talking about, of course, this year we're talking about education, we're talking about support. This support is part of what has always been clamored for. Like the omugo you just mentioned, the mother comes to assist the new mother. It's just to provide support, to help her, to ensure that she has food on her table timely, to ensure that the young baby is looked after so that she can rest. Because that rest is very essential. The hormones that are responsible for breast milk production, it's most at its active moment when the mother is at rest. That's why, like at night, when the mothers wake up, you can see that their breasts are full because that sleep moment, the hormones have, actually acted highly. And then looking at the question you asked about the size of the breast. The size of the breast does not determine the milk secretion, the quantity of milk. Whether the breast is large or the breast is small, the mother can breastfeed and breastfeed well. Just like we have mentioned, the early initiation, which is putting baby to breast within 1 hour of life, is very, very essential to the overall lactation for the period of. So these mothers need to know that immediately the child is born. And also the health worker. That's where the health care workers come into play very well. The support right from the labor room. Of course, you know that 1 hour is within the labor area. So the midwife helps the child to be brought to breast. These days we are preaching about zero. There should be no separation. We want skin, skin to skin contact right from the labor room. Once the child is cleaned, then the baby would.
That's for a normal birth. That's for a normal birth.
Yes, for normal birth. Even for the mothers that go through cesarean section, once she recovers from the effect of the anesthesia, she can be supported.
Well, if the baby is preterm and is in an incubator, you don't achieve that skin to skin, do you? But I mean, we're talking about normality. That's fine. But there's an issue raised by Dr. Riwan Mohammed, and I think that it's important to respond to that, which is to say that the cosmetic discouragement that some mothers feel that if you breastfeed, then your breast will sag. And he says, look, whether you like it or not, the breast will sag. So what is all this whole resistance on account of, you breastfeed? Because some of these stories get passed around. They say, no, don't get into this, otherwise, your breast will not be firm, and then you may require an uplift, to continue to look forever young. Well, is it true that breastfeeding will affect the tone of the muscles of the breast or otherwise? You are reluctant to answer. I mean, the question, anyone can take it up. Yes. Yeah.
Should I go first? Okay.
Anyone of you, please.
So I think we have to be careful when we talk about myths and misconceptions and how prevalent they are. The issue of breast sagging due to breastfeeding comes up, but it's not the biggest reason for why women are not breastfeeding. There are very few women who actually say that. And is it a myth or is it truth? And the answer is no, it's a myth. Breastfeeding doesn't cause your breast to sag. It is a whole slew of things that happen to a woman's body over time, just as happens to men's bodies biologically. As we age, as we change, as we put on weight, we lose weight, things change. But the act of breastfeeding does not really cause breasts to sag. I also wanted to make a small interjection to the earlier question. We forget that we are actually mammals by species, and what distinguishes mammals from other animals, and that is that we are meant to suckle our young and breastfeed our young. So this is like the most basic core of us as human beings, as mammals, that when we give birth, our offspring are meant to suckle and grow. I want to reiterate that when a baby is born, we think, the baby has been in a mother's stomach for 9 months and the development is completed. But that is not true. The baby's stomach, the baby's brain development still continues till at least 2 years of life. And breast milk contains the active ingredients, the hormones, the vitamins, the antibodies that are necessary to complete the child's development outside of the mother's stomach. That is why mammals breastfeed their young. I always joke about this, so I hope it's appropriate, but I always say, look to nature. You don't see the lion's babies going to suckle the elephant, right? And you don't see the giraffe's babies going to suckle the lion's breast. So why do we as human beings think that cow's milk or buffalo's milk or goat's milk is better for our own babies? It's, we say human milk for human babies. My milk is meant for my child. If my child is sick, there is a communication as the child suckles, and my breast milk will produce more antibodies to help the child recover. You heard our colleague from Bauchi say that 6 out of the 9 children he's observed closely have been exclusively breastfed, and they didn't have any illness. They didn't have diarrhea. They weren't sick. This is the beauty about breast milk and how it adapts. So I would encourage everybody out there listening to please.
Okay. Before we go to Dr. Ruwanu Mohammed, I like Dr. Sama, to clarify this. Um, i- can there be a situation where after childbirth, and perhaps because of infection or other medical reports, that the mother's milk will not be good for that child at that point in time? Is there such a clinical situation,
Yeah.
that happens? And in that case, what happens to the child? How will the child be assisted?
Yes, thank you, Karian. There's nothing that is 100% perfect. Situations can come up on both sides, either mother's side or baby's side. So you can have a baby delivered, as he said, preterm, and also a sick baby. Preterm does not make a baby sick anyway. There are ways also, it's a normal baby that could be fed breastfed or using other exclusive express milk. So you could have a sick baby that cannot suckle, a very sick baby. So in that situation, you can express the breast milk. And in the hospital, they have ways of administration, either through the nasogastric tube or whatever way to administer the breast milk to the baby. So that is encouraged even within the hospital, because the breast milk, as she said, is the prime, is the natural nutrition for the baby. And the sick baby needs most at that time is also the breast milk. On the other side, you can have a mother also that is very sick, that cannot breastfeed, and then we can express the breast milk if the breast milk is okay. But you can also have a situation where the breast milk itself is infected.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Exactly,
asking.
maybe in a situation of HIV, So that is why I mentioned in the first instance, until medically prescribed. That is the only instance where you use other substitutes of breast milk, like the infant formula, like even the cow milk or the goat milk, until medically prescribed by a medical doctor, a pediatrician, or a neonatologist, or a health worker, or whoever is available at that point. So this is what we said about medical prescription, and this applies to sickness on both sides, but not in circumstances of it's just the wish of the mother that I don't want to breastfeed. So this has been well explained because of cultural issues, because of misinformation that is going on within the community, or because you want to return to work immediately, so you feel that you should switch over to infant formula or other substitute. All the options are there. You can express, you can carry your baby wherever you are, wherever your baby is. The breast milk is there in its natural form that does not require any work in terms of either using utensils, using energy to boil the water. You just pull it out and feed your baby. And this is why we continue to emphasize on the environment, the baby-friendly environment. And that also, for instance, this year is also to focus the theme on actors. So it's not just about the woman alone, but there are key actors, and we've talked elaborately about the actors within the home, the partner, the husband, the mothers that go, which is, I believe, is still a very good practice.
Which the Omugo.
The Omugo, because
let's be specific so that our
the Omugo is still a very good practice. We shouldn't be selfish about it, because we need to nourish our babies. We need to also bring that experience to support the young mothers to continue to breastfeed. I have benefited so much from that. As I told you, I had the twins. My mom was a big support for me to successfully breastfeed the twins for the first 6 months. So these are actors. The mother-in-laws are actors. The grandmothers are actors. And then the religious leaders are also key actors in creating the enabling environment, giving the right information and giving support. And also within the hospital.
Education, how much, sorry to leap in here, how much education is going to these other actors? Because in the Omugo circumstance, it is the grandmom of the new baby that comes. We already talked about the social consequence. That's on the side, because Omugo can stretch from 1 year to 2 years, especially if they are abroad, and then you leave your husband back home. But the key thing is, how much education are these other actors getting? Because, I mean, the mom will want to say, look, transmission of knowledge. To say, when you were growing up, this was the way we did it, and this is the way we'll continue to do it. So how much education are they getting so that we can get the proper breastfeeding?
Yes, so the whole efforts, when we talk about enabling environment, It is all about the policies we put around, and then there are guidelines to support capacity building of these actors. So our health workers, she has said it, we have guidelines for training them on how to have the right skills, the right information that will impart as soon as they have contact with mothers to be, if right through from the antenatal care, to provide information on breastfeeding and its benefits. So that guidelines and all the documents are there. We also have efforts in engaging with community people, community leaders, religious leaders, and also women groups. Women also form support groups within communities, are encouraged, and they are trained also on the benefits of breastfeeding, how to initiate breastfeeding, up to the extent of how to even position a baby properly for breastfeeding.
Okay.
Yes, so all these are there in terms of capacity building of the actors.
All right, madam. We're going to take a short break, but before we do that, let's bring in Dr. Ruano Mohammed once more. Let's bring in Mohammed once more before we take a short break, so he can make a second comment, in the conversation. Dr. Mohammed, you told us earlier on that you're not satisfied with the rate of exclusive breastfeeding in Bauchi State, but we've all agreed here, of course, with the guests we have here in the studio, that breastfeeding is a norm, it's a culture. That what the world is experiencing today is because of modernity and what have you. We have a more number of working mothers, and the more mothers who are even breadwinners. They have to get around, to help the family. Now, is it that in Bauchi State is not a norm there? And let us know again what the Bauchi State government is doing in the area of sensitizing the local population of women with respect to abiding by exclusive breastfeeding.
Let me just say that this is not only Bauchi State. I was working in FCT Executive Secretary for 8 years. The percentage of exclusive breastfeeding is about only 6%. Later, it grows to only 10% because of the so-called illiterate people who doesn't want to breastfeed, and they are very busy. And it is a big challenge. I still disagree with the former speakers about the issue of multiple pregnancies, particularly above twins. When there are three or four babies quadruplet, I think the medical advice actually required. There are mothers. Actually, the education started from antenatal care about the issue of exclusive breastfeeding. And I want to suggest, and I want to thank anybody that created this exclusive breastfeeding. It's a very good thing that I've never seen. It tends to help the family empowerment. For the first 6 months, you only buy Pampers. I was so happy with it. Only Pampers for the first 6 months. The second one is to prevent the environment from getting polluted with those containers from the formula milk. So it is something that I think if there's an award we are going to give to anybody that brought about the issue of exclusive breastfeeding should be given an award in the whole world, because our babies are getting healthier. Most of the mothers that agree with the exclusive breastfeeding formula, their babies are not having sickness at all. And the advantage of exclusive breastfeeding to the mother is that it prevents cancers. It brings intimacy. And the normal temperature, she doesn't need to do anything, just bath and breastfeed the child. You don't need to go and buy anything from outside. Advantage to the child, it prevent infection, antibacterial property from the colostrum, as all our speakers mentioned. And that is a first immunization of the child to protect the child from diarrhea, from other biases like delinquencies. The child that is exclusively breastfed will have high IQ. And I saw it here in Bauchi. On Saturday, the wife is going to launch the exclusive breastfeeding and plug up with the road walk all over the town. And we're doing it in 3 senatorial zones. And we're also working very hard with all our social mobilization, health education in the communities, trying to create in all our communities. We want exclusive breastfeeding to rise from this 6% maybe to 15 or 20% by the end of next year. Before the next exclusive next World Breastfeeding Week, we want to at least work towards making it 15%. But I'm telling you, it is a bit difficult because of our culture, because of our tradition, and we're involving traditional rulers. We're involving religious leaders. Why? During the sermon in the church, we have sent all letters to the Christian Association of Bauchi State and the mosque that during the sermon they should talk about exclusive breastfeeding. And then I want to inform Dr. Anna Skolo that the initiation of the reactivation of baby-friendly center should be done. Because we're already having before what do you call baby-friendly centers in Nigeria. It has been discarded. Now I think it should be done. Now look at the situation whereby you need to get a firewood to boil the formula, to boil the water for the formula milk. There's some people are using feeding bottles, which brought about diarrhea, and the importance of exclusive breastfeeding to a child itself. It prevents one thing, prevent diarrhea, good erosion of teeth, intimacy. I don't know why. I'm the father of the child. I'll hold the child will continue crying. But because of breast milk with the mother, immediately the mother will hold the child will stop crying. And that is an intimacy between mother and the joy of the mother. So we should also look at the issue of those sickness that can prevent breastfeeding. Number one, retraction of the nipple. Early mothers and the positioning of the baby for breast milk is very important. To position the baby when you are breastfeeding the child is very important to put at the angle that is required. So that can be done in the antenatal care and then during the early initiation. Thank you very much.
Okay, really, we're going to take a short break, but just a little clarification from what you say. When you say that it is difficult to achieve exclusive breastfeeding in Bauchi because of our culture and tradition, we begin to wonder, what culture are you talking about? Is it that it is not in the culture of the people to breastfeed, or is it that maybe there are some new culture that is emerging in the area that's making it difficult for them to take up breastfeeding as exclusive? All right, we will do that when we come back from this break.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
The ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer-long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha Bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger Bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together. As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as the elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Dr. Rilwan Mohammed, my apologies. Rilwan Lukman was Nigeria's energy minister. His blessed memory now. Dr. Rilwan Mohammed in Abuja from Zoom connection. My colleague Kira was asking for clarification of the cultural hindrance to breastfeeding. But I want you to take this along as well. Earlier, I think you dropped the hint that sometimes our mothers, young and old, do not know how to handle hiccups. Hiccups, when a child is hicking up. In our time, if a baby was hicking up, what they would do, they would look for a white thread and put it on the baby's head, and then you had an oil of Johnson & Johnson there. After a while, the hiccup will stop on its own. Later, it was said that, what you need to do when there is a hiccup, give the baby water. Now, I'm hearing that it is not just water. Don't do water. It is breast milk that you should do if it is within the first 6 months. How do you explain all of this to our viewers, plus the question Mike Kieran asked in terms of clarifying the cultural obstacles to proper breastfeeding?
Let me just say that, let me make sure that I make that correction on the issue. Maybe what I intend to say is that the breastfeeding is normal in our society, but exclusive breastfeeding is the biggest trouble we're having. Because I remember one of our relation here gave birth last 3 years ago, twins, and the children, except she's in the house, she doesn't express anything, except she's in the house, the children will get the breast milk. So the children, they grew up like that, and we are not sure, because the father is very wealthy. So the children tend to survive because he was able to buy formula milk. And then what of the mothers that they don't have? They're always on admission because of diarrhea, because of one thing, pneumonia, sickness. So these are the things that we're saying, the advantage of breast milk to the child, that it will prevent all this. I assure you, I had about 4 children that I exclusively breastfed myself with antagonism from my grandmothers, from my mothers, from everywhere, that I was not exclusively breastfed, and I did that, and I saw the advantage is about 100%. The milk inside the breast is about almost the water is about almost 75%. So why are we giving water when the child is having hiccup? The stomach is expanding, so, and the child is growing. So the hiccup means more breast milk. So I think that's what I think we should be doing to educate our mothers, to educate our religious leaders, so that we'll break out the gene or the cultural barriers that we're having, and the traditional rulers, even the mothers and the fathers should be taken along. That is why we're going to go and do a road walk on Saturday with the wife of the governor together, to showcase in different languages, to have posters everywhere, and then the web radio jingles going on issue of exclusive breastfeeding in different languages for people to understand and to know that it's very important to breastfeed your child with your own mother, with your own breast. You don't need to go to market and buy anything. I think I like Anna's color that is saying that accept medical advice. All mothers should breastfeed their child exclusively for the first 6 months, Thereafter, we want the Federal Ministry of Health to bring back the issue of nutrition corner. Nutrition corner is after we started winning the child. Nutrition corner should be erected in all our hospitals and PSC per ward in all the country, all over the country, so that we train the mother how to do the kwashfa or the Tom Brown, so that the mothers will start, when they start complementary feeding, they already know how to use those food materials available in the environment if they cannot afford the expensive food, the canned food. And then we also need to also create another ORS corner alongside the other one. ORS corner is because we have outbreak of diarrhea recently, particularly cholera and other things. So we need to create that, bring it back again, so that mothers, the children will get the benefit of that, and the partners and donor agents should support that nutrition corner in the hospital. We don't know why Nigeria has abundant food resources, but the knowledge and the techniques of using those food resources is a big challenge.
Okay. All right. Thank you once again, Dr. Mohammed. Let me ask you this, Clementina Eberukuru. There are situations where perhaps after child delivery, the mother may not survive, the child may survive, and I've seen occasions where the child was given to another woman to breastfeed and all of that. How healthy is that? You know, I mean, if such a situation arises and there's even nobody that could breastfeed that child, what should be applied? But in the case of availability of some other mother that has breast milk, would it be advisable for that child to be breastfed by another woman?
Yes, we see that in our communities happening, and it's not even, it's not a new practice, it's been there. So what we actually talk about is, one, if it is culturally acceptable by the people. In most cultures, yes, it's acceptable. So long as it is acceptable by the culture of the people, that's the best to give.
What about medically?
That's best to give. Yes, I'm coming to medical. And what should be done, one, is that the mother, we call that wet nurse or a surrogate mom. So what they need to do is to get screened. They need to be screened from some of these diseases, such as to know if they are HIV status, to be screened for hepatitis, especially hepatitis B. So in doing all this, so long as the mother does not have any disease condition that can be transmitted through the breast milk to the child, then it's perfect, because the child will be getting another mother's milk, breast milk, which we have all mentioned that is the best food for the child.
Well, can I come in with
yes.
to that? So we have, medically speaking, a hierarchy of what is the best food for the child, and we say breast milk is the first food for the child. So the number one is the child's own mother. So mother's milk is the number one. Two is, we say, other human milk. This could be administered to the child directly by another woman who is breastfeeding. And as Clementina said, the caution for mothers, or the advice to mothers, is make sure the other mother is healthy and is not ill, in which case she would be medically advised not to breastfeed even her own child. The third way you can do it is also, you have human milk banks in many countries, which is just like we have blood banks in hospitals, you have milk banks. And mothers who lactate enough and can donate their milk, donate it to a milk bank. It is pasteurized, it is safe, and especially in a health facility. You talked about preterm babies earlier. You have low birth weight babies. You may have a child, even a child who's in an incubator can be fed human milk in other ways, but human milk that is safe, that is pasteurized, and that has been banked in a hospital. So there are many ways, but we say mother's own milk, and then other human milk, and then we talk about other types of feeding options for the child.
But there could be a situation where a child will require those substitutes.
Yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I was just saying, what is the recommended care of the breast before it is introduced into the mouth of the baby? I mean, take a mom, for instance, who's been working in the field sweating, and of course, there's dignity in labor. There's no question about that. So how does the mom, do you just whip out your breast from the bra and then introduce into the mouth of the baby, even though the breast milk probably could have antibiotics? How do you look after your nipples before you introduce into the baby's mouth?
Yes, good to say that. I think we need to clarify that the mother is her whole body. So we encourage personal hygiene, just like you take your bath in the morning and evening or whatever, just make sure that you are clean. And we encourage that as a totality of being a woman. So it's not special about the breast. So when you feed your baby, of course, your breast is clean. You wear your clothes and you still have a bra that protects the breast. And we encourage all women to wear their breasts. It's part of what keeps also the breast firm. Because as she said about aging processes, it's a fibrous tissue. The breast will collapse. But use your bra to firm up your breast, and this is the natural way to do it. So there is nothing that says the breast is not hygienic. And at every time you want to breastfeed, you have to go and wash your breast. Not at all. That is not necessary because you are clean. So any point, you just need to pull out your breast from the bra and feed your baby. That is a natural way to do it.
Because
there is no evidence that has shown that.
Where cotton wool is dipped into some antiseptic and then, clean.
To clean
yes.
No, it's not encouraged. It's not encouraged to use cotton wool or antiseptic to clean your breast. You've taken your bath, you've just taken care of yourself. And your breast is very clean, very neat, well packaged. You just need to bring it out at any time and continue to breastfeed your baby.
Well packaged.
Well packaged. Yes.
Let me also add that even on the breast, on the areola, that black part of the breast, it has some glands that naturally secretes, some lubricants that sanitizes the breast.
So you can see how natural it is.
Now we are doing a closing thoughts now this time around because we don't have time, right? Closing thoughts, okay?
Sure.
Now I want you to speak to the younger generation of mothers that we have today. Because as we speak, I have neighbors, I have people who don't breastfeed, honestly speaking, who are pretty young mothers, they're in their early 20s, the language they understand is totally different, from what you are saying this morning and all of that. So let's just a brief advice, to this category of mothers. Yes, Nima.
You want to look at? Okay, I'll start. So I want to say two things. One, and it feeds off what Dr. Salma just said about packaging, how well packaged breast milk is. And I just want, we've come out of a COVID crisis, right? And the big thing was immunization. And there is a saying that says, if today I was to invent a vaccine that could deal with many illnesses, reduce child death, that did not require refrigeration, that did not require needles to administer, that did not require any of this big infrastructure flying in from one place and flying in from another country, I would win a Nobel Prize, right? So here we have a vaccine, an extremely beautiful product, for lack of a better word, or substance that is meant for the baby. That is an award-winning Nobel Prize, and even if I was an economist, I would win two Nobel Prizes because breast milk and breastfeeding is also good for the economy. You heard Dr. Mohammed say it increases IQ of the child. Breastfed children have IQ points that are higher. So my advice to young mothers is, this is a natural substance. As young mothers, as new mothers, or we think we're the educated generation, we seek information, reach out. This is an amazing substance that is climate smart, that is medically safe, that has all the benefits you can ever ask for. So seek the information, seek the support. Everybody can breastfeed, and every child has the right to be breastfed.
So thank you. In addition to what she said in terms of promoting that, we've also seen the need to begin early in terms of education. So we're working with the relevant ministries like education to integrate within the curriculum of children, right from primary school, secondary school, and tertiary institution, so that they grow with that knowledge that it is very important.
Let that be just a simple topic under nutrition and then malnutrition, so that it doesn't become another issue around sex education that often will cause a great deal of confusion. We don't have enough time, but probably it's a takeaway how much support is this whole advocacy for exclusive breastfeeding getting from the big corporations that produce infant formula? That is international economic politics. So,
Yes.
for another day. Kira, on that note, we'd like to thank all our 4 guests who've been with us on the program this morning. From Bauchi, we're joined via Zoom by Dr. Rewanu Mohammed, who is Chairman, Bauchi State Primary Healthcare Board. Dr. Mohammed, thank you for being our guests on the program this morning. All right, here in the studios, Clementina Ibero Okoro was the Federal Capital Territory Nutrition Officer. Thank you for being around this morning.
Thank you.
And UNICEF Chief of Nutrition, Nimat Hajiboy, well, thank you for being our guests. And last but not least, Dr. Salman Ibrahim Anas, Director and Head Family Health Department in the Federal Ministry of Health. Thank you for being around.
Thank you so much.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Let's take a bit of sports.
Sprinter Favour Ofili is now available to compete for Nigeria after she tested negative for COVID-19. The 19-year-old had been kept in isolation upon her arrival in Birmingham last weekend after testing positive for COVID-19. But the Nigerian has now rejoined the team and will make her Commonwealth debut Thursday when the 200 meters event gets underway at the Alexandra Stadium. She will also compete in the 4x100 meters relay event, which starts on Saturday. Also ready to compete for Nigeria is reigning Nigeria 200 meters champion Alaba Akintola after it was finally issued a British visa at its base in the USA. Athletics has provided 2 medals for Nigeria so far at the Games through historic efforts of reigning African champion Chioma Onyekere and reigning Nigerian champion Obiageri Amechi. Meanwhile, England's Emmanuel Oyinbokoka raced to God in the men's T45 to 4700 meters final. The 20-year-old ramped to a career best of 10.94 seconds as he took home the gold medal at Birmingham. The Nigerian born was met by a hug from his crying brother as he celebrated his triumph. As at the time of filing this report, Team Nigeria stay in 10th place with a total of 8 medals, 3 gold, 1 silver, and 4 bronze medals.
All right, and that's our show for today. We thank you for watching. Join us again tomorrow for a fresh package. My name is Kirian.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I joined my colleague Kirian to also thank you for being with us. Have a great day ahead of you. The day.